All right, let's get right into it. Just a few days ago, China held its massive annual Spring Festival Gala, broadcast to pretty much the entire world. And while most people were probably looking out for pop stars, a few folks, people who really follow this stuff, saw something else, something that points to a huge, and I mean huge, shift in global tech. And this quote right here, it just nails it. What looked to millions like a fun, festive show was actually a very public, very deliberate demonstration. It was China showing off its industrial muscle and, yeah, its potential military power. It was a declaration that the rules of the game have fundamentally changed. So what did everybody actually see? Well, it wasn't just singers and dancers. Right there on center stage was a whole troupe of humanoid robots. And they weren't just standing there. They were performing this incredibly complex, synchronized martial arts routine. They weren't the backup dancers. They were the main event. And the technical skill on display here was just, wow, staggering. We're talking a dozen robots from companies like Yushu Tech, all moving together, perfectly in sync, even handling things like staffs and nunchucks. But the two things that really made people sit up were the drunken boxing, which requires this insane level of dynamic balance to look like you're about to fall over but you don't, and the moment a robot was designed to fall and then got right back up, all by itself. In that self-recovery thing, that's not just a cool party trick. It's a massive signal. See, in a factory, if a robot worker tips over, you don't want to have to call an expensive engineer to come reset it. It needs to just get up and get back to work. This was China telling the world, hey, our robots aren't fragile lab experiments anymore. They are ready for the factory floor, today. So let's put this in perspective. In the West, what do we see? We see these beautifully produced YouTube videos from Boston Dynamics of a single robot doing parkour. Or we see a carefully edited video from Tesla of its robot folding a t-shirt. China, on the other hand, put a dozen robots from multiple companies on live global TV. It sends a totally different message. One is about a prototype. The other is about mass production and readiness. Okay, but the performance, as cool as it was really just the public-facing part of the story. The real story, the one that has analysts on Wall Street and at the Pentagon absolutely scrambling, is hidden in the market data that dropped right around the same time. So, as the world was captivated by these kung fu fighting robots, what was the one critical piece of information that almost everyone missed? This 90%. Just let that number hang in the air for a second. Of the roughly 13,000 humanoid robots shipped across the entire globe in 2025, a jaw-dropping 90% of them came from China. While Silicon Valley was busy fighting a war over who had the best AI software in the cloud, Beijing went and quietly conquered the market for AI's physical body. And believe me, this did not happen by accident. Nope. It's the outcome of a very deliberate, very different strategy. A bet that you can really boil down to a simple concept: the brain versus the body. And here's why this is such a big deal for defense planners. These robots aren't just factory workers. They are what's called war machine prototypes. Think about it. A robot that can haul heavy boxes in a warehouse can, with a simple software update, haul ammunition on the battlefield. It becomes a tireless, fearless logistics machine. That's the definition of dual-use tech. So here's how the two sides diverged. For the last few years, Silicon Valley has been obsessed, pouring billions into building the most intelligent AI brain. The goal was genius-level thinking. Meanwhile, Beijing had a completely different goal: make the physical body as cheap as cabbage. And the result? America has this brilliant AI brain kind of stuck in the cloud with no affordable body to put it in, while China has a massive army of affordable robot bodies, ready and waiting. Now, if this strategy sounds familiar, it's because it absolutely is. This is the exact same playbook China used to dominate the global supply chains for solar panels and then for electric vehicles. Use massive state-backed industrial scale to just drive the cost down so far that nobody else can compete. Humanoid robots, it seems, are just the next chapter. So how did this happen? How did Washington and Silicon Valley apparently miss this massive pivot? Well, it all went down during a critical 3-year window that we can basically call the lost years. This timeline really tells the whole story. Back in 2023, Silicon Valley went into a complete frenzy over large language models, while Washington was busy debating AI ethics. At that exact same time, Beijing published a clear national plan. We will mass-produce humanoid robots by 2025. And while the US spent the next 2 years focused on things like chip export bans, China was just methodically, quietly, building the entire domestic supply chain to make their robot goal a reality. As the analyst George Chao says here, in China, the line from a government policy paper to a primetime performance on a global stage is incredibly direct. That gala show wasn't a fluke, it was the finish line. It was the public proof that their national plan had worked, right on schedule. So, what is the ultimate goal here? What's the end game of flooding the market with these cheap, capable robots? Well, it leads to one place: the rise of the fully autonomous factory. At the end of the day, it's all about simple economics. A Chinese robot like the Unitree H1 already costs about $16,000. Think about that. That is not only cheaper than Tesla's target price for Optimus, it's barely half the annual salary of a minimum wage worker in the United States. And as they make more, that price is only going to drop. So now, let's paint the full picture. You have a factory. The power comes from cheap Chinese-made solar panels. The entire workforce is made up of these cheap Chinese-made robots working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And all the supplies are brought in by Chinese-made autonomous trucks. Tell me, how can any other country on Earth possibly compete with that cost structure? And this is the final move on the global chessboard. The ultimate goal is to create a manufacturing ecosystem that is so efficient, so low cost, that the entire Western political dream of reshoring, of bringing manufacturing back home, becomes an economic impossibility. It's an industrial checkmate. So I'll leave you with this final thought. Years from now, when one of these robots that can teach itself how to get back up walks into your factory, your warehouse, or your office, will you remember that it all started with a martial arts performance that most of the world just saw as entertainment?